Hey everyone, Andrew here, and today I'm with my top 5 films of 2018. Now, 2018 was a pretty good year, honestly, movie-wise. There were not a lot of sinkers. There was a lot of pretty good to very good movies. And when I was going through my reviews and looking at my ratings and how I would rate all of them, I found that I had 6 movies that I would consider the best, because they all got 5 out of 5s from me. And then it became oh no, which of these is best and which of these is worst? And I've come up with somewhat of a stable list for that. So, like my top 2 are 100% set in stone. My 3 through 5 are a little bit flexing. But I'm going to start off by mentioning the one that didn't make the top 5. That could have, that almost did, but did not. And that would be my number 6, which is A Wrinkle in Time. I'm in the minority of one of the only people that actually really liked this film. When I watched it, I did a review on it, comparing it to the made-for-TV movie that came out in the early 2000s and the book itself, which I read and watched all of in that month period. And I think I already reviewed all that. I put it in link in the description, or it's also in the annotations in whichever corner it happens to be in. But yeah, I already did that one a little bit, so you can get my thoughts from there. But I'm more of surprised of how different my opinion was from everyone else, because everyone else hated this film. A lot of people thought it was stupid, made no sense, it was really badly done. Really? Did you ever read the book, or watch the other version of it? Because it's not like they had the best material to work with. I'm sorry, the book's kind of boring. There's not a lot going on. It's literally just going from place to place to place. Oh, we can't win here. Let's go back. Oh no, we have to go back to the place we couldn't win at because we left someone. It's not a lot going on. So they had to add some stuff and add to really, make this film work. And a lot of people are hard on the kid that played Charles Wallace. It's like, that's not a role that can be done easily, because you have to play a super genius who talks like a 30-year-old. And I thought he did a very good job, considering he did way better than the TV version kid did. But I have to acknowledge there is some bad parts to this. And if I was able to pull my thoughts about the book and the other movie in comparison to it, yes, there are some flaws. This one has some bad effects. There's some absolutely beautiful full effects, but then there's some stuff that looks like it's from the Spy Kids movies. There's some bad acting. And there is some bad storytelling. There are some flaws to this, I acknowledge. But overall, I greatly enjoyed it, and I thought it was very fun. It was my favorite version of the story. But I can also see why other people didn't like it. So let's move on to my actual top 5 of 2018. Aquaman. I honestly didn't have a lot of high hopes for this one. I've never been a big fan of the character. I never particularly I don't know him from any of the DC stuff that I've seen or done. The only thing I know him from is Justice League. And that was the last Justice League movie, where he was also played by the same actor, which I liked him in that movie, but I like Jason Momoa. I've seen him in almost everything he's done since he did Stargate Atlantis, and I like him in almost everything. I knew I was going to see it, but I didn't really have high hopes for this, because this is a concept that can easily be done poorly. I mean, it requires so much effects, so much looking into things. I mean, you have to figure out how to make underwater look and seem natural and make sense and work. And shockingly, this movie did it. I have no idea how. I know part of it's, wire work and CGI and using different things, but it was still, I'm shocked at how well this executed. It has very good storytelling, really good special effects, even just being under the water, or just the tidal wave, or the different creatures, the different versions of monsters that exist in this, to even like just the de-aging makeup that they did for the beginning scene where you saw how Aquaman's parents met. I kept looking at the woman going, that kind of looks like Nicole Kidman, but it's a little different. It's like, it was a little bit of that uncanny valley, but I did not know Nicole Kidman was playing the mom. So when I found out that it was Nicole Kidman, I'm just like, wow, because I just assumed that was an actress that kind of looked like Nicole Kidman. But it was actually just a de-aged Nicole Kidman. I was like, wow, I'm impressed. And the fighting in this was very good, very fluid, worked really well. They knew the perfect times to use fast effects, to use slow-mo effects. They did a great job of setting up Aquaman's character and who he is and what his motivation is and why he's doing the things he's doing. And even, like, the villain is well set up and well executed. Yeah, no, it's just... And, I'm someone who... it's like, okay, I have a weird thing with the DC ones where I like some of them, but a lot of people don't. I really like Suicide Squad. I really liked Justice League. Of course, I liked Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is amazing. But, like, all of those had flaws, and I don't have a problem acknowledging that those had flaws. I'm having a really hard time figuring out if Aquaman had flaws. Because it doesn't really seem like it did. I mean, you had a really good lead. I dislike the fact that they switched out the actress playing the underwater female who helps him from Justice League into this, but the new actress did a better job. Sorry. They did a good job with all the effects, all the fighting, all of the storytelling. It had a really good Indiana Jones feel, where it's like trying to figure out the mystery of where this item is, while also being hunted by these group of people. They did a great job with Black Manta, who they gave a good explanation for who he is and why he is the way he is and what he's after, which is revenge for Aquaman killing his dad, because Aquaman basically killed his dad. I'm sorry, I don't care what logic Batman uses to justify letting Ra's al Ghul die. Refusing to save someone is the equivalent of murdering them. And plus, it's like, you're an immortal being with super strength. You could have saved him and thrown them both in prison. But, yeah. But it's like, the storytelling was great. They did a good job with the villains, with the effects. Every single part of it was well told. I think the only thing that kind of annoyed me was the number of costume changes. Where it's like, especially the villain. The villain had 6, he changed his costume every scene. Every scene he was in a completely new costume. It's like, here I am, greeting Aquaman for the first time in gold armor. Now we're gonna fight. And I switched to a slightly silver armor, and then I end up in a purple armor. And it's like, pick an outfit. I'm like, it's not like this is taking place over months. This is a few days. Just pick an outfit and stay with it so I can keep track. And then he finally gets into his outfit that he's known for in the comics, and I recognized it because I saw him in one of the Justice League direct-to-DVD movies, one of the animated ones. But it was still like, oh, okay, that's who that character is. I kind of knew that, but yeah. But yeah, overall, I greatly enjoyed it. Thought it was a lot of fun. Good, fun, lighthearted, well-told superhero movie. Creed 2. Yeah, no, another one I really didn't have high expectations for. I mean, I saw all the Rockies, and I saw Creed, and I like most of them. I mean, I think Rocky 1 is the best, 3 is pretty good, 4 is really good, and Creed was pretty good. But I only went and saw Creed the first time because people kept telling me it was so good. And I was like very happy that I saw it. It was a really good exploration of, what happened to Rocky, what growing up as with this legacy would kind of do to a kid, and things of that nature. It's a really well-told story, but then you get into Creed 2, and I'm like, okay, good. What are we going to have? Is it going to be a tournament for who's now the world champion? Are we going to see him fight that guy who they were setting up to possibly be the big rival for this one? Nope, it's just Drago. And I'm like, oh, uh, okay. It seems a little quick. Can we build a little further up to it before we get to No? Alright, well, he's seen the son of Ivan Drago. And of course, because his father killed Adonis's father, they now have to fight. Because reasons? No, there are pretty good reasons, and you get two different versions of why Adonis wants to do it between the first fight and then when he has to refight him a second time, because he gets his ass kicked, which of course he does. I mean, I knew that the second they got in that ring together. I'm like oh, Creed's gonna get his butt handed to him. I'm hoping he doesn't end up paralyzed, and this becomes a whole different movie. But yeah, it was like they had two completely different training montages, and they're both extremely well executed. You see the dynamic of what has happened to Ivan Drago and how it's affected his son, and how they, because you would expect, because he's still one of Russia's greatest athletes, he would have still been all right in the boxing world. But it's like, nope, instantly shut down and kicked out of Russia, like completely dropped by the Soviet Party. They don't want anything to do with him anymore. And then his wife leaves him with their child, and the child gets raised in a very cold, very tough household. Okay, and like one of the best scenes of the year is just Rocky Balboa sitting down with Ivan Drago at his restaurant, and it's just like Drago's like, no pictures of our fight, and Rocky's like, no, none of that. Hard-grained old men who just have learned to deal with the life as it is, and beautifully told. Every character has a good full arc, and to see Adonis go from becoming world champion to getting royally destroyed to the point that he is broken for a good portion of the film, to figuring out what he's fighting for and why he wants to fight, and getting retrained and changing up everything about his style and the way he fights, is perfectly executed, perfectly told. Just an amazing film. And I'm like, if you are not a fan of the Rocky franchise, I'd still say check this one out, but you can feel the weight of all the Rockies and all the other Creed on top of this. It's just trying to live up to a namesake, trying to find your purpose, trying to figure out who you are and what you're fighting for. And like every character has an arc. Adonis has an arc. Rocky has an arc. The girlfriend has an arc. Both of the Dragos have arcs that are very good. It's just well told, well executed, and that last fight and everything that goes down in that fight is amazing and very well told and very well executed. Great film. Absolutely loved it. I think the only thing that could have made this better, and the only thing I'm kind of mad that didn't make it into it, is they didn't include the theme song from Rocky IV. Where was Hearts on Fire? We should have had a remix Hearts on Fire at some point. Just play it over the credits. That would have made me happy. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Yeah, this one was just beautifully animated, beautifully told. I am a huge Spider-Man fan, I'd never even heard of Miles Morales and all these spin-off Spider-Man verses too much before. Like, I'd heard of Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man Noir, but the others were all like, oh, I've never heard of Miles Morales until people started saying we should get rid of Peter Parker and do Miles Morales' story. I'm like, I'd rather you do Peter Parker good once. And weirdly, the Miles Morales movie kind of did a good Peter Parker movie. Like, and it's well animated. It has this real comic book feel to it, which is good, but it's also slightly one of the flaws that keeps this from being amazing is there were certain points because of the color aesthetic and the way it was done that I'd have moments where I kept thinking I was in a 3D movie and I'd forgotten to put the glasses on because it was just like, that's really weird and fuzzy and doesn't. Oh no, that's just the screen's doing that. Okay, that's not because I don't have my glasses on. Like, you got the best rogues villain for Spider-Man movie we've ever had, and like we have a unique new Doc Ock who's female, who's really interesting. You have an interesting take on Scorpion and Green Goblin, which I'm really and Prowler, but I'm like, what happened to Green Goblin in this movie? He disappears like after the first act, and you just never see him again. I'm like, or he died, or like he may have died. I don't know. And then you got the main villain is Kingpin, and that's one of those Superman or Spider-Man villains where I was like, I don't know if he can support his own movie because he's not. He's really more of a Kingpin villain, or he's really more of a Daredevil villain than he is Spider-Man's villain. I mean, Spider-Man fights him a lot, but he's not. It's not necessarily like a deep emotional conflict between these two. But they managed to do something really amazing with the Kingpin that you understand where he's coming from and what is motivating him. And then you got the use of all the other characters. I mean, you got a great performance in Miles Morales. You got two different versions of Peter Parker who are very interesting and very different. And it's interesting to see, I've been doing this for too long and I'm kind of depressed and unhappy with my entire life, Peter Parker, trying to train this young kid to, be the new Spider-Man type of thing. And then you got Gwen Stacy and you get, like, expertly performed. That was amazing. That just, oh. But I honestly, I didn't expect a lot from the other ones because I knew there were three other Spider people, which is Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Pig, and I forget the other one, the Japanese girl with the Spider-Man robot. But they all did exceptionally well. Like, the Spider-Bot girl is really good. Like, the Spider-Pig is actually, like, one of the best things. It's just hilarious, and he works on his own physics that he's able to bring into the world and just manipulate everything to his advantage, which is perfect. And then you got Spider Noir in black and white being voiced by Nicolas Cage. And one of the best Nicolas Cage performances ever. Ever. Is absolutely amazing. Just spot on performance from him. I want all of these characters to have their own spin-off movie. I want a Spider-Gwen movie. I definitely want Nick Cage Spider-Man Noir movie. Please. I would totally watch a 2-hour long one of that. It's just so well told, and it was just such a good dynamics of dealing with, these people who are all different but all connected, and they're all driven through loss. It's like the loss of an uncle, the loss of a friend, the loss of a loved one, loss of a parent. But it's like the message of, it's like, we are all Spider-Man, we are all, moving forward. It's all about becoming, it's not about having the powers, it's about having the right motivation, to understand loss and to know what the right thing is and to do the right thing. To, face down fear and take it on head first. And sadly, this is one of the last movies we're going to have an actual Stan Lee cameo in. And he's spot on in this, and it makes me very happy and very, that anyone can be Spider-Man type of thing. It's just such a Stan Lee support, and it's such a good use of him in this. But yeah, no, story's beautifully told. You get such good dynamics from everyone. I love Miles' parents in this, and Miles himself is a really interesting character, and just I think one of the things that kind of bothers me is that when he gets his final suit, the one he wears, he takes the normal Spider-Man suit and spray paints it black with the red. Like, when there's literally a black Spider-Man suit right next to it that he could have taken and just spray painted the red in on top of. Why did you damage the classic suit to just when you had a black suit right next to it? That was just one of those, it doesn't make sense. There was a black suit right there. Just spray paint that one. But yeah, no, overall, all highly recommend. Sadly, not a lot of people went to see. Not as many people as should have went to see this because it's a kids' film. It's animated. It's like yes, but it's also one of the best animated films ever. It's definitely one of if it's not the best Spider-Man film. It reminds me a lot of there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode called like Turtles Forever, where they combined the current version that they had of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the '80s versions, with the comic book versions. That's sort of this Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is that done 100 times better, where nobody's the butt of a joke. Everyone's there. Everyone is perfectly executed, perfectly represented, absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend. So I'm not a very big documentary person. I've only just recently started watching documentaries at all in the last few years. All started because I went to my grandparents for Christmas one year, and we were there for like 2 weeks, and it was kind of boring. There was not much to do, so we ended up watching this documentary called Blackfish, which is about Shamu and SeaWorld and the treatment of killer whales. And I loved that. That was absolutely great documentary that just had all this detail and all this information. And it's like, okay, and I've been watching a bunch since. And there's nothing that I've really found that lives up to that first one. Until this one. And this one is so good that, and I had a hope and I had a belief that it would be so good that I not only went to see it in theaters, I paid full price at an AMC night to see it. I don't do that. I go to like the knockdown cheap theater where I only have to pay $7. But this one was the only theater that was playing it at the time. It's the only time I could get to see it. I'm like, I'm not missing this. I'm paying full price to see this documentary. And that was Won't You Be My Neighbor? The story of Mr. Rogers and his neighborhood. This was just such a beautifully made, beautifully executed documentary. Just absolutely great. I could tell within the first 5 minutes that this was something I was going to love. Because you had Mr. Rogers at a piano, playing around, playing some of the music, and he's just waxing philosophical about his thoughts about how television should be taught to teach kids, and how emotional it should be, and how it should help them know who they are, and he's using these high level, multiple syllable psychological terms and thinking words that you never would hear Mr. Rogers say because there are too many syllables. And it's like, and he gets done, and he's like, I think I might be overthinking this a bit. And I'm like, yes, you are, but you're doing it the right way, so please keep going. Because that's why his legacy is what it is, and why he lasted so long and stretched so far, because he took such a strong approach to it. He treated it with respect. He treated it with understanding, and knew what his message he wanted to be for the kids, which is to talk to them like they're adults and to treat them and as people, and treat, and not be afraid to shy away from certain subjects with them. And you find out in the documentary, it's like within like the first week of him being really on the air, he started talking about the JFK assassinations, and how people are sad because someone is no longer with us, and how that's affecting people. And he was talking to preschoolers, about this. And I'm like, I don't remember Mr. Rogers talking about such deep, heavy subjects. And I'm like, I remember watching it. I watched it as a kid. It was never one of my favorite shows. I mean, it was very little kid. Once you got to the point that you were watching Sesame Street, you didn't watch Mr. Rogers too much anymore because you moved past it. But I always respected it. I always respected the messages that it had. And it's just like, even more so when you find out how much he put into it, and how he was, he was all the voices. He was all the characters. He was doing all this stuff to make it work, and had these messages and had these lessons that were very adult, very mature. And, I was watching this then, and watching him being such a great person, such a great human being, and I kept waiting for the shoe to drop, because I'm a dark, cynical person. I always believe that people are evil. But, you know, it's like, and because it's a documentary, I'm just waiting for the, little did we know, he was a cocaine addict who used to sell, you know, who sold his body on the street for, you know, or ran a prostitution ring out of his basement, or the, you know, all the dark, seedy underbellies that we never really, that we always imagine that people have, especially if they're this good and this kind. And no, he's literally Jesus. He's just like the super nicest person in the world who was super kind and super friendly to every single person he met and lifted every single person he met up onto their, you know, the closest we ever got to anything that was even close to him being somewhat that way was there was an African American mailman on the show, had been on the show for a number of years, who was homosexual, and he got caught, you know, going out of a gay club, and the network found out about it, and Mr. Rogers went and talked to him, and he's like, okay, I understand this, and I understand how you feel, and I understand all this. I can't have you doing this while you're on the show. But I love you and I respect you, and you are a very important person to me. And that has to be really hard for Mr. Rogers, who almost became a minister, and to have someone that he works with that closely be homosexual, something that's such a gravest sin in the eyes of the Bible. And not like nowadays. Found this out in the 70s. And not only did he let him keep have him keep his job and kept being friends with him, the guy was being interviewed was crying. It's like it's like Mr. Rogers was like a father to me. He was one of the most important people in my life, and that is just heartwarming and just made me cry a little bit. It's just like, because we still have that to a point where it's like people who let their religious beliefs dictate how they treat other people. But it's amazing to me that he was such a good person and so smart and so kind and thought everything through and treated every child that he came across like they were important, like they were. Is just a beautifully told story, just beautifully executed, absolutely amazing. And it made my cold heart grow 3 sizes. It just made me warm and happy to see it, and I'm so happy I saw it in theaters because it was just beautiful. Now on to some honorable mentions. So like I said, there were a lot of really good movies this year, and there were a lot of things that worked really well, and there's some that didn't. There was a couple that, like, for me, could have been amazing if they pushed a little harder or done something a little bit more to them than what they are. What they are is fine. They're like 4s, but if they tried a little harder, they could have been easily 5s. And that would be like Deadpool 2, Incredibles 2, which Incredibles 2 is still really good, but it's not as good as the original. Christopher Robin, I think Christopher Robin had the potential in it to be very, very good, but was only pretty good. Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2, and even Black Panther, which I know a lot of people. Black Panther is their favorite MCU movie, and maybe even their favorite movie of the year. I really liked it. It has definitely one of the best MCU villains of all time. It has one of the best villains of all time with Killmonger, who is very understandable and very relatable. But for me, it's like there's certain CGI elements and certain little things that just kind of bog that one down a little bit for me. There's a bunch of movies that I really liked that a lot of people hated that I thought were really good. But then there were some that were just like surprisingly good. Like I didn't have any hopes for them to be remotely good, and they turned out to be great. Like Bumblebee. Bumblebee was very good. I mean, is like you don't like the Transformer movies? That's fine. This is better than all the Transformers movies. This is basically Iron Giant and E.T., but with Transformers. It's really well told, really well executed. I thought Skyscraper was really good with Dwayne Johnson. Like, that one was extremely good, except for the idea of using duct tape to climb buildings. No, that's not possible. Same, Ready Player One's another one that, like, I liked, but a lot of people didn't. And that one's weird 'cause some of the people are like, it's not like the book. I'm like, yeah, but from what I heard about the book isn't that good. There were a lot of good movies with music in them. You got Bohemian Rhapsody, which is like the best depiction of Queen ever. Like I would just love to see just these actors do a concert because they do them so well and that's so interesting. The story itself is a little blasé, but I think that's just because they were drawing from reality. A Star is Born is a really solid, really good film with like Lady Gaga blew it out of the water when she did this. Considering it's the fourth remake of a story, it's honestly one of, if not the best version of it. The one was one I would mention that honestly I didn't expect to be good because I had no high expectations for this to be remotely good. But that was Maze Runner: The Death Cure. I I thought the first Maze Runner was all right. I hated the Scorch Trials, but this one had really good drama and really good action and was really perfectly told. Very well done. As I said, I watched a number of really good documentaries this year. There was Robin Williams' Come Into My Mind, which was an HBO documentary that was all about uh, Robin Williams' life. That was really well told. There was um, there was a one for Andre the Giant, which was really cool. There was one called Game Changers, which was all about television game shows and their impact on history, which is really interesting. There was Bandersnatch, which is a Netflix original Black Mirror movie, which was a choose your own adventure movie that was really interesting and really compelling. There was a movie that honestly I'm sad I couldn't put on my top 5. I really wanted it to be. It really had some good stuff for it. It only had really one thing that brought it down, which is Mission Impossible Fallout. Just the perfect evolution of the series. Absolutely amazing action, storytelling. Honestly, my second favorite of the series after Ghost Protocol. I think Ghost Protocol works a little better because they're so entirely on their own and none of their technology really works the way it's supposed to. It adds a lot more drama to it. But this one has great action, great storytelling, just good dynamics. I think the only thing that marks it down for me is that there's a person in there who we're looking for the undercover, the double agent, and it's like it's clearly this person, but I was really, really hoping he was gonna be a red herring. And nope, he's clearly the double agent. And it's like, dang it. Like if they let him be good and had someone else be the double agent, I would have given this movie a lot more props than I can. Anyway, on to my number 1. Avengers Infinity War. Of course, this is my number 1. Have you met me? Or like I could not make this my number 1. I mean, this was a giant cast, a cute, like 20 plus star cast. And not only does everyone get good screen time, they all get emotional character development and a chance to shine. Everyone pulls all their parts perfectly. It's amazing storytelling, amazing effects, amazing use of lighting and colors and storytelling, and just everything about it is perfect. Like immediately after I saw it, I was like, it's in my top 3 superhero movies of all time, type of thing. There, and it deserves it because there's no way, and I don't think anyone else could have really made this work because it's so perfectly executed, and just everyone getting the chance to shine in this, and you get to see some dynamics that you never got to see before. You get to see, different people interacting and how that would react. I'm like, I would never thought of seeing, Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and that would be extremely funny and extremely interesting. But they works off super well, especially when Star-Lord starts imitating Thor's voice. I talked about Black Panther and Killmonger being one of the best villains. Like Thanos is really high up there as well. Like he is just a perfect level of understandable, relatable villain with good emotional qualities, but he's also incredibly threatening and incredibly dangerous. And he just like taking on the Hulk and beating the crap out of him for his own enjoyment, to the point where the Hulk is afraid to come out at later parts. I don't care what the Russos say. that no, he's tired of putting up with Banishers. No, Hulk is having a hissy fit and doesn't want to come out. That's him being scared. I don't care what they say. That, like, literally the Hulk got his kicked in for the first time ever, and he's terrified to come out. And everyone working off it's like someone, like, there was always like that worry that some of this wouldn't match up, like the magic of Doctor Strange and the technology of Iron Man and the goofiness of Guardians of the Galaxy, but it all works perfectly well together in this. And you just have this threat who is looming and there and perfectly executed, and you understand why he's doing it and the emotional implications of what he's doing it, and him willing to do anything to get his goals across. He is a psychotic fanatic with an unstoppable desire to destroy half the universe, to save the universe. This is one of the only movies this is the only movie this year that I felt I had to see twice in theaters. I almost went and saw it a third time. I really wanted to, but I ended up not. And it's the first time in years that I've heard so many people talking about a movie. Like, everybody. And we all know why. We were all talking about that ending. And that ending is amazing. That ending only works because it has 10 years of history behind it. And even watching it, you're just like, there's still 5 minutes left in the movie. Are we gonna fix it? No? Credits? Okay. Yeah, it's just heart-wrenching. And it hurts. I thinking about it hurts. And it's the Empire Strikes Back of Marvel, of superhero movies, period. It's taking the concepts of what was already set up, building on it, making it darker, giving it gravitas, and leaving it with this ending that you're like desperate for the next one, but also heart-wrenching and pain. Loved it. I just loved every minute of it. I own it on Blu-ray now. I'm so happy. It is just amazing. I'm hoping the Russo brothers can do it again. Can make Endgame just as good. That said, if they can't, I wouldn't be. It's like, if they can't, still on them, because they made it work once, and even if they can make it only work once, that's still an absolutely amazing thing that they managed to do one time. Like, you're not gonna be angry at the people who just pitched a no-hitter for not being able to do it again the next time they're on plate. It's like, they did it once. Just doing it once makes you a superstar. If you can do it a second time, that makes you basically a legend. Maybe a god. I don't know. I'm hoping we get to see what that is, because I'm like, they've made 3 movies, and all 3 of them are very, very good. So, that's my top 5 of 2018. Do you all agree? Is there some that you think should have gone higher? Is there some that you think I shouldn't have given this much credit to you? Did you hate Wrinkle in Time and think I'm an idiot for liking Wrinkle in Time? Let me know in the comments below. I will plan to be getting back to some regular book reviews, maybe a manga or comic review next. We'll see. That's all for now. See you later.